Alright, we are now factoring polynomials. This is 5 of this current polynomial unit. And the first question down here is asking you to get a GCF of these two numbers. So in order to get a GCF, you have to find out what multiplies into those numbers. So if we start with 42, I start with 1, and 1 times 42 is 42. And then you keep going. 2 and 21, 3 and, what is that, 14, 4 does not go, 5 does not go, 6 times 7, and then we're back to 7, and that would be it. So these are the numbers that multiply the 42. 60 is going to be 1 and 60, 2 and 30, 4 and 15, 5 and 12, 6 and 10, 7 does not go, 8 does not go, 9 does not go, and we're back to 10. And once you get back to a number that you already have, that's where you'd stop. Now we're looking at the number that they both have in common, that's the highest. So in this one we have 6 and 6. There's nothing higher than 6 that they both have. So the GCF of 42 and 60 is going to be 6. If you have a TI-85 calculator, there is a good way to do it on here. And I can share this with you guys so you guys can put this on your computer. I suggest that you have a handheld one though for everyone to use in class. So on this calculator, you would hit Math. You would go across to Number where it's highlighted NUM, and you press 9. 9 is GCD. That's for the greatest common divisor, but it's also the greatest common factor. Divisor and factor are the same. The two numbers were 42. We'll put 42 in first. We're going to do a comma and then 60. We don't have to close the parentheses. You hit enter and it tells you that 6 is going to be the GCF. Next we have 25 and 36. Let's go back and let's see what the GCF of 25 and 36. Math, go across, Number, hit 9, 25, comma, 36, enter, and it's going to be 1. Now we never care when a GCF is 1 because 1 goes into everything. So let's look at the letters now. What do they have in common in the letters? Well, this term has an X and this term has an X. This term does not have a Y and this term does. So the only thing they have in common is X. Next we have 8 and 18. Let's go to the calculator. Math, go across to Number, hit 9. We have 8, comma, 18, and that's going to be 2. 2 is our GCF of the numbers. Now let's look at the letters. I see an A in the first one. Do we have an A in the second one? We do. Now what's the exponents for them? We have A squared and A squared. So A squared is really A times A. And they both have A squared. So they have A squared in common. So we can bring the GCF down with the A squared. Let's look at the B's. Do they both have B's? Here's a B and here's a B squared. Let's see what they have in common. There's a B and here's a B squared. That's 2 B's. The only thing they have in common is one of them. So we're going to bring down a B as the GCF. Next we have 15, 3, and 6. I'm not going to go to the calculator on this one. There's a different rule with the 3 numbers, which I can explain to you if you ask in class. 15, 3, and 6. The GCF is going to be 3. Now let's look at the letters. We have A to the 4th, A to the 4th, A to the 3rd. If they all have a's, whatever your smallest exponent is your GCF. The smallest exponent is 3 because the others are 4. The GCF is a to the third. B to the fourth, B to the fifth, B to the sixth. They all have b's. Your GCF is b to the fourth because that's the smallest b. Now we're factoring out the GCF. We find the GCF of 5 and 15. The biggest number, that goes into both of them is 5. Once we find the GCF, we're going to divide each term by that GCF. 5 divided by 5 with an x is just x. The 5 divided by 5 would be 1. I could put a 1 in front of here, but I don't have to. 15 divided by 5 is a positive 3. We have to write plus and then 3. X squared and 3x, they have an x in common, and we're going to divide by that GCF. X squared divided by x, well, when they divide exponents, they want you to subtract. 2 minus 1 is x. I'm going to put a 1 in front of this x to show that this is 3 divided by 1. That's a positive 3, and the x's cancel out. As a check, you can multiply. X times x is x squared. X times 3 is a positive 3x, and that's what we had to start with. We have a squared and a. The smallest a is what we take out. We have b and b. They both have a b in common. We'll take a b out. We're going to divide by ab on both. A squared divided by a is going to give us a, because that's 2 minus 1. The b's will cross out. 2 divided by 1 is going to be a plus 2. The a's cancel out. The b's cancel out. 3 numbers, 15, 10, and 20. The greatest common factor. It can't be more than 10, and 10 does not go into 15. The greatest common factor of 10, 15, and 20 is going to be 5. Let's look at the letters. x3, x squared, x5. They all have x's. The smallest one is x squared. The y's, y5, y6, y3. y3 is the smallest, and they all have y's. We're going to divide by 5x squared y3, each term. (15) divided by 5, that's going to be 3. x3 divided by x2, 3 minus 2 is x to the first power, or just x. y5 divided by y3 is y2. This is a negative 10 divided by a positive 5. That's negative 2. x2, x2 cancel out. y6, y3, 6 minus 3 is 3. 20 divided by 5 plus 4. 5 minus 2, that's x to the third. y3, y3, they cancel. 14 and 2, GCF is 2. X squared, GCF is x squared. y4, y, GCF is just y. So we're going to divide by 2x squared y, 2x squared y. 14 divided by 2, 7. x2, x2, we don't need it. y4 minus y1, y3. Next, we have 2 divided by 2, x squared divided by x squared, y divided by y. We have exactly the same thing on the top as we do on the bottom. So we can't just cross everything out and leave it that way and not put anything here. We have to say plus 1, because if you have the same thing on top as the bottom, just like if you had 10 divided by 10 or 5 divided by 5, those would equal 1. So when it's the same on the top, same on the bottom, you have to put a 1. See if you can do number 6. Pause and do it by yourself. All right, hopefully you got the same thing as me, and hopefully you could start doing this on your own. Number 7 and 8. When we have the first term that is negative, we have to bring out a negative in our GCF. 3 and 12. The GCF of 3 and 12 is going to be 3. X squared and x, y and y to the third, y, z to the fourth, z to the third, z to the third. Start your parentheses. Divide by negative 3x, y, z to the third, negative 3x, y, z to the third. Negative 3, they can cross out. x2 and x is just x. The y's will cross out. z4, z3 is just going to be z. 12 divided by negative 3, negative 4. X and x will cross out. y3 and y is y2. That's 3 minus 1. That's why we have y2. z3, they're going to cross out. Negative 2 is our GCF of the numbers. X squared and x, that's an x. Y and y squared, that's a y. Z and z, that's a z. Start your parentheses. All right, negative 2's will cross out. X squared and x is just going to be x. Y's cross out, z's cross out. This is 22 divided by negative 2. That's going to be a negative 11. X's cross out. Y's cross, oh no, y's don't cross out. y2 minus y1 is just y, and the z's cross out. All right, hopefully you got a better understanding of factoring with the GCF.